I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Kamen Riders. We're here to talk about Kamen Rider Geats episode 33 today. I am your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and joining me as always is Toby Tobes. What's up, Toby?
Josh, I'm very old now.
You are. Congratulations.
I made it to the big 4-0. The hill has been climbed. I'm falling down the other side.
I liked. I told you happy birthday, and you said thanks. I'm really old now, and I'm like, oh god, so old. in a very like, I'm glad you said it type of way.
That's what friends are for.
Yeah, you're ancient. I'm not that far behind you. I'm like 5 years younger than you, roundabouts, I think.
Fuck yeah.
Which isn't that long. I mean, 5 years is not that long, Toby.
I'm not that far away, but I'm almost like a decade behind you.
I mean, when we first started hanging out on the internet, you were hanging out with a very young, impressionable child. That was me.
And look at you now.
Look at me now.
Running your own ship.
Actually, that's not true. I always forget that we have the age gap that we have, because it's always felt like you and I were like very even.
We're equals.
Yeah.
In this world, we're equals.
In this digital world, in the real world, where my body is actively decaying, not so much.
Yeah, but we're gonna fake it with words to the voice in the outer space here.
Exactly.
We're all the same.
Yes, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, Josh.
Now it's all downhill from here.
It is. So, and to start the downhill, and a story I've been hyping up for a couple days now.
Yes.
So I'm going to do my best to not miss any points on this. I wrote myself a bunch of notes to not miss any points.
You sent me, let me just tell the people real quick. You sent me a picture of your redacted notes for the story. You've written paragraphs out so you don't forget anything. And you very meticulously, like a CIA document, blocked out all of the lines for it. My anticipation is at an all-time high here.
So, and that's my fear. I'm worried that like not being there and me trying to relay the story to people is not going to fly. But I'm going to tell you anyway, because if nothing else, I know you're my friend and you'll appreciate this.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so feel free to stop me whenever you need to, because since I wrote down the novel, I'm pretty sure I can pick up where I left off.
Okay. All
right, so here we go. So this is a lesson in Toby not being fancy and not knowing how to get himself out of a situation.
Oh, it's okay. It's a lesson. I like it's a lesson. Good.
I guess so. I probably learned nothing from it, so I would still do this again. But here we go. So for my birthday, I went to New York to a fancy restaurant. It's the kind of restaurant where like the cheapest thing is like $40. So it's like it's not just like pork. It's like dry aged pork chops or filet mignon or all this kind of crazy shit.
Is there like a dish that they're known for or anything like that? Like, is there like a specialty item?
So I have no idea, but we got there and it was on Cinco de Mayo. So May the 5th.
Sure.
The appetizer menu had like $3 tacos. So that's more my vibe. In general, like I'm more of a Taco Bell kind of guy than a fancy place guy, but it was my birthday. We did something special. Went out to a fancy restaurant. So like this is the kind of place where like they have like 3 kinds of butter that comes out with your bread. Glass everywhere, overlooking the river. Like you're supposed to dress up to go here, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to set the stage as good as possible.
There's a place here in Indianapolis that is kind of similar called St. Elmo's, which is like it's the same vibe of like everyone goes there for all their special occasions. That's the only reason that people go there. It's super expensive, and they're known for their shrimp cocktail, which is like a horrible dish to eat. Never ever order it. I don't know why anyone would. But anyway, go on.
Okay, so like real quick, so like the raw bar here, they have a 3-tier shellfish plateau for $200, and they can actually get like caviar if you want to. So it was like that kind of place. Like we did it up. So I had this weird thing where I don't like ordering the same food as other people, especially if it's like a one-on-one situation. It just seems weird to me. They're both like, we'll have the same exact thing.
See, I think that's cool. I like that.
Okay, so like for a reason, I don't like that. Like I don't know. It's just some weird thing where like when people copy each other with their meals, it stresses me out.
I grew up with a cousin who would always wait until I ordered my food so then he could order the exact same thing as me. So I had to get over that very quickly.
Awesome. So, are both, or at least more so me. I'm what I learned is called flexitarian. I think we talked about it before, where it's like I'll mainly try to not eat meat, and we were staying at a farm sanctuary this weekend. So like I feel extra sketchy or gross if I would think about eating meat. Well, like I go home and like sleep next to cows and stuff like that.
Like they can smell it on you.
Yeah, they'll sense the stress. So usually like the go-to is either like actual vegetable stuff or fish. Like fish is not okay in theory, but it's at least like a compromise.
They're not as cuddly, so it's okay.
Yeah. So the two options for Michelle and I both decided that the seared salmon sounded good. It came with all sorts of fancy shit, words I don't know, but it sounded good. And she was like, oh, well, I think I'm going to get this. So at that point, I'm like, I don't want to get the same thing as you. We're out someplace nice. I'm going to have the whole market fish. So on the menu, the whole market fish is lemon and herb stuffed, saffron cream, grilled asparagus, roasted red potatoes, and the price is market price. Which, so I know market price means however much the fish costs in the market at this point is what you're paying for the fish. Or like marked up, but...
Essentially, yeah. It's like whatever they want to charge. Don't order this if you're poor, is what it means.
Yeah. So like, for whatever reason, the words whole market fish just sounded like, oh, like fish from the market, I get it. Like a big fillet, a big chunk. No big deal.
Were you thinking that they meant the whole market instead of the whole fish? Like, we went through the whole market and picked out our favorite fish.
I already don't know. I don't know if I took it in my head of like, oh, fish sampler, and just like the word whole just like went out of my brain.
Whole is a very important word here.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, no big deal. So waiter comes. Oh, so there was two waiters. It was a guy and a girl went back and forth. But the main... I'm going to call him the villain in this story, even though he did absolutely nothing wrong, is the waiter. I believe his name was Tom, so shout out to Tom on the off chance he hears this podcast.
Tom, who we just established is the villain. Okay, good. Shout out Tom.
So she orders the salmon. I go, I'll have the whole market fish, and just hand him the menu with like the satisfied look on my face of like, I ordered my food. And he looks at me and goes, don't you want to know what fish that is? So,
Tom is a villain, first of all.
So I don't, at that point, my brain starts going of like, wait, what the fuck just happened here? So my only instinct was to start laughing. And I was like, no, it's okay. I'm good. Like, it just surprised me. No big deal. Ha ha ha.
Bring me fish garçon.
Yeah. So he looks like shocked and caught off guard. He starts laughing and he's like, okay, yeah, cool. But like, seriously, like, don't you want to know what the fish is, like what it comes with, how this works? And I was like, at that point, I was completely gone. I was like, I don't know what to do. But instead of backing down from this challenging waiter who was just trying to help me, I was like, no, I'm good. I was like, I'm ready for it. Don't even worry about it. Whatever.
You doubled down on tell me nothing. Clearly, you're trying to hint that I should know more about this process, but you're doubling down on no, tell me nothing. Bring me a whole fish of any kind.
Right.
Perfect.
So then he looks at me, he's a little shell shocked, but he's like, okay, but like, I'm just letting you know it's a whole fish. And he's like, it's a lot to eat. Like, it's a whole fish. So I don't know what else to say at this point. I start laughing and I'm like, it's my birthday. Let's get crazy.
It's my birthday. Let's get crazy. All right. At this moment, you've now realized that you fucked up, right? Like you realize that mistakes have been made. You've doubled down on them. I
doubled, tripled, possibly quadrupled at this point. But I'm like, I can't back down now because I know it's a fancy place. And I already at this point, I've already showed my hand to this guy that like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he's probably like, he's trying to impress the girl that's with him. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
there's something going on here. He's just like, he's trying to give me the friendly nudges of like, hey, this will be okay. But like, seriously, like I'm trying to help you here. So I haven't lived down the let's get crazy line since this all happened. I'm almost a week ago at this point.
At this point, if I'm you, I'm expecting to be brought some sort of sea creature that's the size of the table or something. Like something just monstrous is going to come out here. I'm going to have to wrestle it before I eat it or something like that. Let's get crazy. All right.
Let's get crazy. So we have our appetizer, like her and I were bullshitting, whatever. And like, she keeps saying like, it's probably a whole fish. And I'm like, no, it'll be fine. And she's like, no, seriously, like, it's probably gonna be like the head and the tail and the whole body. Like, what are you gonna do if it's all these things? And I'm like, I'll figure it out when it gets here. And like, but in my head, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do here. So literally sitting at the table in this fine dining establishment, I YouTube how to eat a whole fish real quick. Because just in case there's some weird shit where like he's gonna watch me try to take the head off or something, I'm like, I need to have the most base level of what the hell is going on here.
That's my favorite thing that's ever happened. That's incredible. First of all, respect. I would do the exact same thing in your scenario. Oh my God, I have to learn about this quickly. Yeah, no, I would be the same way. That's great. Perfect. I love the resourcefulness. I love the wasting your birthday dinner with the stress of how to eat a whole fish. That's also incredible. Great. Perfect. No notes.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the busboy waiter helper kids drops the fish off and goes, enjoy the red snapper. So like, I know red snapper's a fish, no big deal. So he puts it in front of me, and I showed you the picture. I can send you separate pictures to put in the video version of the podcast. But legit, it's a whole fish. Like, the fish still has eyes and a tail and teeth in its mouth, and it's just a fish that was like sliced down the middle, and they jammed like herbs and lemons in it. So I look at it, and I'm like, I guess I have to eat this. Like, I kind of knew this was coming, but I guess this is what's going to be. So like, I read my little guide. I start working around it. Like, I don't want to touch the eyes because like legit the eyeballs are just sitting in there still. And like, it really made me feel weird about it as a person for whatever reason. Like, I'm literally just eating like this actual thing that's in front of me. So I started eating it. Tom, the villain, comes back, and he came back with like a glow in his eyes of like, I can finally tell him what kind of fish he got. So he walks over, and before he says anything, I said, "Oh, the guy that dropped it off told me it was red snapper." I was like, he ruined it for you. And like, his face just gets dejected, and he's just like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I hope you enjoyed it. It's good," and just walks away.
You guys have a weird dynamic, you and this Tom character. I don't know. I don't really know what either of you are going for in this interaction.
I don't either. I don't know if he was trying to like help me like save myself, or like, why does this kid just keep hammering down on nothing, or like, what the hell's going on? So the food's just been dropped off now. There's already been like 7 layers of issues here, and the food just got brought to the table. So started eating the fish. I'm probably about halfway through. He comes back and he's like, "Are you enjoying it?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's really good." And he's like, "Man, you're doing work on that." And he's like, so he's telling me about the fish. He's like, "This is one of my favorite things." He's like, this fish is delicious. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's really good. You know, this is great." And he goes, "Yeah, the fish is so good with the saffron." So on the menu, it says there's saffron cream on it. So the plate has like a yellow cream all over the fish, like in the plate, whatever.
Okay.
So I'm still in the zone of like, I wish he would stop talking to me about this goddamn fish because we're making it worse. So he says the saffron's delicious. It doesn't click to me that the sauce is the saffron, even though like I read it and all that shit. So I knew there was, and like I saw like thyme and rosemary and other stuff stuffed in it. So he says his like, it's so good with the sauce. I said, "Oh, really?" Like conversationally, like trying to fill the gap of like, "Oh, tell me more about the fish you like with the sauce." And he just,
oh, you've broken poor Tom.
So he just stares at me. There's like an awkward silence, and he goes, "Yep, it's really good." And then he walks away. So he walks away. I'm looking at the plate, and in my head, I'm like, "Motherfucker, it's the sauce that's on the fish."
He thought you were just like confronting him about it. "Oh, you like this, do you, Tom?"
Yeah, like I trust me. In no way, shape, or form was I presenting myself as any sort of genius in any of this. It was all nervous laughter and trying to stop the situation.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. Did Tom just stop interacting with you after that? Was it like, let's just avoid this kid?
No, but we're almost done. So I finished the fish. He comes back. I was like, "Are you impressed?" Like, "Look, I ate the whole thing," because I guess it was like a pound and a half of fish.
"Look, I ate the whole thing." Like you're
like a child. "Dad, look, I ate the whole thing."
I did it, Tom. I did it.
So like he was like remotely proud of me. Like probably would have gave me like a pat on the head if he knew me better. So he takes the plate away. I'm like, thank God this disaster's over. I got through the fish debacle. This is one for the books.
Through unscathed.
So to end this, him and the girl waitress that was going back and forth helping us. So I don't know if they're trying to sneak it out or not, but they brought out a very decorative plate that said happy birthday on it with a candle and ice cream. So they're standing in the doorway because it's windy outside, trying to light the candle, but not coming outside. I happen to look up and see them in the doorway doing this. The girl shoots me a look like, oh, I guess you see us. So now I don't know what to do. So again, to break the awkward tension, I start laughing and I like whisper talk, but I say like, hey guys, I can see you over there. And like they both give me this really weird look and like half laugh and then just walk over to me with the thing. So they come over, they're like, we can't really get to light. They're like, are you ready? They're trying to like cover the candle with a glass just to like block the wind from the flame for a little bit. So I say I'm ready, thinking like they're gonna light the candle and sing happy birthday to me. Like granted, it's a super fancy place, but I'm like, okay, they brought me the quote unquote cake. We're gonna sing, whatever this shit is. So they light the candle, they look at me. I look at the candle, no one's saying anything. So I blow out the candle, and they both look at me and just go, happy birthday, and then walked away.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so like, I was waiting for them to sing. They were waiting for me to do anything else, and we all just ended up staring at each other again.
That one's not on you. That's a weird, what's the point of just bringing a candle over for someone to blow out?
I don't know. Like,
that doesn't make any sense at all.
But that's
nonsense, yeah.
But that finalized the night. So like, finally hit like, we'll call it like a true adult age, and I can barely get my ass through a dinner without, I think at this point, like septupling down on my stupidity and nonsense and like leaning into just the dumbest shit ever.
I think that you're fine on the end there. The end seems very weird. So they just had like, what was the candle in?
In like a little bowl of ice cream.
And did they leave the ice cream with you at least?
Yeah, like that was my dessert, and they wrote "Happy Birthday" in chocolate dust on the plate.
Okay,
so like it was a very nice presentation.
But they just didn't do anything. They just handed it to you and then just like stared at you.
Yeah, they're like, "Are you ready?" Just to make sure they could light it and wouldn't blow out right away. Oh. And then like I gave it a second because I was expecting them to sing.
Yeah.
And then they didn't. I looked up and I was like, I just blew it out, and they're like, "Happy birthday," and just kind of walked off.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like there's an expectation at restaurants that like if you bring me something with a candle on it, you're gonna sing to me. Like, you know, it's like when you go to like the Ryan's buffet and they say happy birthday from the Ryan's crew, you know, and they have their own version of happy birthday they sing. Like that's like a normal thing. Yeah. The rest of that though is amazing. So what is the technique for eating a whole fish? You kind of just glossed over what you learned from your YouTube video watching. How do you tackle a fish? What do you do?
So technically, you can cut the head and the tail off.
Okay.
And I think you're supposed to be able to like pull the spine out because all the bones are still in it.
Okay.
And like the thing was like, don't worry, like you might eat a bone or two. Just watch. If there are pin bones in there, you know, they're stabby and hard, so you'll know if they're in there. So like I tried to like nicely peel fish off the top half before I hit the actual spine, which is creepy as fuck too.
Yep.
And then like the video was like, don't feel bad if it's easier for you to just flip the fish over and eat the other side. And I thought to myself, like, I've embarrassed myself enough at this meal. Like, I'm just going to flip the fucking fish over and not try to like shred it apart or, you know, do anything fancy with it. But like, I think I ate a respectable amount of the actual fish.
Yeah, that's one thing I hate is bones in fish. Like I've never eaten a whole fish for sure, but like when you're eating regular fish that has actually been, you know, cleaned and the bones are gone from it, but then you'll catch like the stray bone. Like fish bones are just the most awful thing to end up in your mouth because like it's like stabby and it's long and you like have to fish it all out. It's very weird. It's a weird experience. So I'm not interested in that as like a core experience of a dinner. Yeah, so I'm looking at your pictures again here. So that is a fish. Like I also don't want my meals to look that much like the source animal. Like, you know, I'm not a vegetarian or a halfway-atarian or whatever you called it. But I still want there to be a bit more obscurement in the in the dish that I'm eating.
So for everyone that's listening to the audio version only, I highly suggest, we're about 19 minutes in right now, just jump on YouTube real quick and please look at the pictures that Josh is going to put in of the fish before and after, just so you get the full scope of, like, Josh, you see like the yellow foam on there, like the saffron?
I do. Yeah, I do.
It's pretty easy to notice, right? It's pretty good.
I think that was my favorite part of the story. I'm just like, oh, I love that with the saffron. Oh, do you?
Oh, really?
Oh.
And obviously I'm laughing more now, but I want to stress, like, nothing that came out of my mouth was like, I wasn't rude, I wasn't like being a dick or being sarcastic about any of this. I was just trying to struggle bust my way through this meal and stop the embarrassment that kept on coming.
Can I just say, you commendably, I'm looking at the after photo here, you ate shockingly close to the eyeball and shockingly close to the tail. Like,
all the easy meat, and the easy meat I got out of there.
I'm just saying, I would have, like, I don't know, like, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I don't think if a whole fish comes to my plate, I can actually like dig in. Like, I can see its mouth, I can see its eyeballs. That's just
Josh, like in the eaten picture, like there's a goddamn spine in there. Like it's literally just like a stabby spine.
Yeah, which
Crazy.
Like, you know, I can do like fried chicken and stuff. Like that doesn't bother me, but like, yeah, there's something about you know, looking back at me. Too much.
Well, yeah, if the chicken stared at you while you ate it, you probably wouldn't feel so good about it.
Whole market fish.
Lesson learned.
I think we've established the name of this episode as let's get crazy.
Perfect. The legacy will live on.
Boy, that is amazing. And what is your significant other doing during all of this? Like, is she like embarrassed while this is happening? Is she just like cracking up at you as this is all going down? What's going on?
All laughter.
Okay.
A lot of like legit the whole rest of the trip. Anytime something remotely like would come up, I would just hear let's get crazy. Like I have not heard the end of let's get crazy yet.
That's great. I had a very, it's not even like remotely similar to this, but I'm very into coffee and I do a lot of coffee making at home of various different kinds. Like, you know, I'll do an AeroPress, I'll do French press, I'll do a pour over, whatever. Like I'm into like all the weird, you know, hoity-toity coffee kinds. But we don't go to cafes that often where I get anything other than like an Americano or something. But we were at an actual coffee shop the other day, and I was like, oh, I'll try something that I don't normally get at a coffee shop, and I'll get a pour over to kind of compare to like how I'm making them at home, right? Like see what they're like.
You need to be put in your place by the pros.
Well, yeah, like I kind of want to know, like, am I doing a good job or not? Because like I've got all the tools, right? I got a nice grinder at home and all that stuff. So I ordered a pour over, and I realized in the moment that I'm ordering it that like that the menu just says pour over, but I know that they have like different coffees, and I don't know if I'm supposed to like specify a particular coffee when I order the pour over, or if I'm supposed to like ask what the coffee is before I order it as the pour over to seem like I like know what I'm doing, or like what the whole process is. So I just go, I'll have a pour over. And I kind of linger there, and she goes, okay. And she like grabs a board that's kind of beside her, and she like sits it on the table. And like, thank God I hadn't like zoned out by that point, like I sometimes do after I order things, because on the board was like the list of coffees that I can choose from. So I was able to like very quickly transition into like, obviously I know that I'm going to pick a coffee, so I'm going to look down at this board here. And I didn't make it awkward, but I did have the moment of like, I have no idea what the next step in this process is, and it's going to be called on me very soon.
Do I say how hot I want the water, or do I say what kind of grind I want? What do I do here?
That's what I do at home. Yeah, like I don't know how involved in this process I'm supposed to be. But it all worked out.
Just like me. That's all that matters.
It all worked out exactly, just like you. Nothing weird happened. Oh man, that is great. I'm so glad that you got to share the fish story with everyone. Toby, we've got some emails. Let's dive into some emails here.
Let's get crazy.
Let's get crazy.
Let's read some emails.
If you remember last time around, we couldn't access our email inbox, but now we finally can again. The internet is back.
Thanks, Hover.
Yeah, screw you, Hover. ruining this podcast last week. It's not even worth listening to. We couldn't read emails.
Yeah.
But now we can, so it's worth listening to again. Our first email comes in from our good buddy Shade. Shade has some tidbits here, which I found interesting. I've already shared one of them with you. Shade says, at the end of episode 28, which is when Gene was departing, so like Gene and Ace had their big moment, and Gene's like, I'm going to go figure out what it's like to live. There's a song that plays. You might remember. It's like a big featured song. It kind of feels like this like weird like retro song that's playing over it. The song apparently is called Live for the Moment, and it was actually a duet that was sung by both Ace and Gene's actors. So that was actually Ace and Gene together on that track singing, which is awesome.
That's crazy and hilarious.
And then in the same musical front, the thing I actually shared with you before we started recording here, Neon's actress actually released her first single, which was very cute. I loved the song. So she's on her way to, I don't know, becoming an idol, becoming a triple threat.
And along with that, we've slowly found out over the past week or two, mainly from our cool Discord, which if you join our Patreon, you can get in. Apparently Buffa's actor was in a boy band years ago at some point. And from looking at stuff today, I think Neon's dad's actor was in a boy band as well.
Oh yeah, I hadn't followed up on that yet. You posted a picture. So you think that's at him? He was in a band?
So it's definitely the same. So I was doing a deep dive on some actors today because I wanted to see if like he was actually like looked like a serial killer all the time or just from the show.
Perfect.
And then like he's really like 50-50 at best of like, he doesn't even seem like he'd be a nice person to like walk up to as like meeting him kind of thing. But so his name and one of the results is one of the people that are in that band for sure. And I can't tell if he was just that much younger and it's hard to tell it was him or if it's someone with the same exact name, but I'm 99% sure that he was in a boy band as well.
Awesome. That's cool. As you were saying, like, it's crazy how musical this cast is. Like, they're all able to like sing their own little character songs in the stage show. It feels like half of them were in bands or have like singles coming out now. It's crazy. But very, very cool stuff there. And as you said, hop in our Discord, join our Patreon. You can join our Discord and get access to all these fun conversations.
All these great times.
She also points out that Kamen Rider Geats is now officially released on Blu-ray and DVD. So the first of the volumes have started coming out in Japan, which is usually a point where some group will come through and sort of rip the Blu-ray footage instead of the broadcast footage and apply subtitles over it. So then you can get some like nicer looking versions of the early episodes, which is always good. But Shade says that with it is a little bonus content with the cast. They're going bowling. They're semi in character, but they have a bunch of goofy challenges involved.
So we need to find that somehow. We need someone to like rip the DVDs.
I have a link to the video footage. So we'll take a look at that later. But it looks pretty fun. Apparently the final score here, which I have a screenshot of from Shade, is surprising. Ace basically lost a bunch of points because he was gloating too much towards Buffa and for using English words in a no English challenge. So I guess they were having a no English challenge, and he specifically said, "Here comes the highlight." So the final score is he lost. He got 43 points. Buffa got 62. Looks like Neon got 50. Keiwa got 58. So Keiwa did pretty well. And the winner was Sumi with 74.
Hell yeah.
So none of them are good at bowling. 74 is a pitiful score. And she was
the best. They're definitely just fucking around.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray is the first 16 episodes, and it's $180 American.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I need to find a source that will rip some of those things now again, because I've downloaded some of the Kamen Rider Build Blu-ray sort of rips, and they're great. Obviously, like, you don't think about it really, the broadcast version versus like a actual like high def Blu-ray, but the video quality is like so much better on that version. So very cool. And then Shane says, finally, I want to tell you a bit of a story related to Geats' toys. Geats' Boost Mark II form was actually leaked all the way back when the series first started, and to understand the reason why, I'll need to explain how the Desire Driver toy works. So Basically, the driver's buckle slot in the driver's buckle slot, there are a lot of tiny little buttons. And how the buckles work is that each of the buckles pushes a certain combination of buttons to make a variety of sounds. However, because of that, it is extremely easy to hack the driver for non-released buckles. Basically, you can just hack the driver and just have it dump all the sounds or play all the sounds at once, or even just like poke the buttons physically in all the combinations that you can think of and just force it to play all the sounds, even though you don't have the drivers. So throughout
that's
the years,
pretty clever. I was thinking about how that worked when you were talking about that. That's pretty genius.
Yeah,
congrats whoever hacked the driver.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, the way that they figured that out too, right? Like all the logic is in, or most of the logic is in the main driver, and like the fact that it's like this weird like physical copy protection kind of is really interesting. Where they like press the certain buttons as they go in and stuff. Shade says throughout the years of toy making, Bandai and Toei have learned this, that people are going to try to hack the driver and stuff. So they figured that they can make the driver play half the sound while the item itself plays the other half. So that's for like the big late game items like the Mark II. And the example of this was the laser boost form. So that was kind of a half and half one.
Gotcha.
According to the hack sounds in the driver, there are some very interesting buckles that are about to debut, but I'll refrain from spoiling anything. So we got some good buckles coming down the line, apparently.
Can't wait.
And then Shade sends a second email here to tell us a bit more about Kamen Rider Black Sun, which is a show that we are watching for our Patreon. So if you want to check out our episodes, we're about to record episode 4 of that here tonight. But Shade says the reason why the show is called Black Sun is because in the original Kamen Rider Black show, Kotaro was given the name Black Sun by the evil organization that gave him his powers. After he escapes them, he rejects the name Black Sun and calls himself Kamen Rider Black. Kamen Rider Black Sun's original material, Kamen Rider Black, is among one of the most popular old Showa Kamen Rider seasons ever, and is one of the few old Toku shows that has a sequel called Kamen Rider Black RX, starring the same character. Back then, most Toku shows were either a franchise with many different series of characters, or a one and done, so this was kind of a big deal. The show was aired in many Asian countries and some countries in South America. To this day, Black still has a very dedicated fan base in those countries. And then Shade says, a bit too dedicated, if you ask me. So a bit of shade there from Shade. And then Shade says, finally, I want to address the elephant in the room. Kamen Rider Black's sequel, Kamen Rider Black RX, was the series that was adapted by Saban into Masked Rider. So at the height of like Power Ranger popularity, Toby, they tried to adapt Kamen Rider as well. And they brought over Kamen Rider Black RX and called it Masked Rider. And this show was terrible.
Oh, no.
Absolutely atrocious. It actually had a crossover with Power Rangers, I think for like one episode or something. But yeah, the show is awful. There's like a weird like Alf-esque character that they inserted into it for some god awful reason.
Does he try to eat cats too, or no?
He doesn't eat cats, but it's the same kind of vibe. Yeah, it's crazy bad, like all the decisions they made in what was going into Masked Rider. And they kind of tried to make it to like a Power Rangers-esque like teenagers with attitude type show, with like just a kid and his family and stuff. But anyway, Shade says that show was so bad that even to this day, Toei still uses it as an example of why they are not confident excuse me, in the Kamen Rider franchise's potential in the West. In an interview with Variety, director Shitakura, a popular Toei director that interacts with fans pretty often online, joked that Black Sun's adaptation of Kamen Rider Black was Toei's payback to Saban's Masked Rider. So that's pretty amazing. But yeah, that's the reason. The Masked Rider adaptation is the reason why. Yeah, I think really that they haven't tried that again since then, despite the kind of continued popularity of Power Rangers. It's like they killed it so far into the ground that that they didn't do very well. They did then try to do Ryuki as well, which they called Dragon Knight when they came over. That was more popular, but still didn't hit any of the levels of Power Rangers. But I think those have been like the two instances where they've attempted to sort of localize Kamen Rider.
Crazy.
Then finally, we have an email from Charlie from Texas. So Charlie had been telling us about this in the Discord. Let us know to look out for this. But Charlie had the opportunity to interview Tom Constantine, who is one of Neon's bodyguards, for a paper that Charlie was writing about Kamen Rider, Tokusatsu, and how the shows are produced. So this sounded super cool. It sounded like Charlie got to talk to Tom for a long time and got to ask a whole bunch of questions. So Charlie sent over a couple of the questions he asked for us and a couple of the answers that he got. So first up, he asked Tom, what is the rehearsal like for their fight scenes? Do they take a long time to learn? And if so, how long? And Tom said that it can really depend on what the fight is. If it's like the main fight of the episode, they'll focus more time on it. Usually the stunt team have one day of the week they'll work on just the action scenes, but it's whenever they're free. If there's a new power-up form or the director has a special request, they'll film like previews ahead of time to get confirmation for it. So then Charlie actually links one for an episode of Kamen Rider Saber, and it's actually very cool. So they film the scene but just in their regular clothes with like sticks instead of swords. But they're doing all the camera cuts and all the stuff and all the action that they would normally do, but clearly it's just kind of like on set, like behind the scenes. But yeah, they could show that to the director, who would then say like, oh, I didn't like this cut or whatever, and they'd be able to change it. But that kind of blows my mind that they only have like basically one day to sort of figure out these action scenes and how they're going to be put together.
It's more and more soap opera than ever.
Just it really is, yeah.
It's like almost live recording of, okay, well, it's just today. Let's just get going because tomorrow's gonna be the next episode.
Yeah, when you think about it, yeah, it's like it's a series that like never really takes time off more than like a week, and even then, like not really. Totally, it's a soap opera, and like obviously we knew that it's like a weekly thing. They really have to keep pumping these out, but that really hammered the point home for me of like, oh god, yeah, like they have to get the action done because they have to get the actual filming done because then they have to get the actual CG done. Like it's incredible that any of this looks good at all. The fact that they, have to spend so little time on it because the next one's coming and the next one's coming.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like obviously it was more so in the beginning. We mocked the bad CG, but if they've been running on the schedule of like, we need to get this shit done, like maybe the times it looks worse is because they were more rushed or like under the gun at that point, and they just had to get something in there versus the super pretty shit or who knows. Just seems possible though.
Also too, like, right, it's like each of these shows is a new production you're putting together with a new director and a new cast and stuff too. So like I'm sure a lot of that upheaval, things probably take longer at the beginning than they do at the end. So it's probably like, maybe you're not filmed as quick in the beginning as you get it done later on. So, the CG team just has less time to work on it and stuff too. So I'm sure that takes a while for that to become a well-oiled machine. Tom also says if the actors, if it has the actors in it, they'll plan something, but the actor won't get a chance to rehearse until they're on set on the actual day where they shoot the action scene, which is crazy. Charlie asked him, do the suit actors actually hit each other? Tom said, never full force. Depending on the shot, they may hit a shoulder, chest, or stomach, but even then they have to be careful of the costumes, as there's usually only one of each. That blew my mind.
Yeah, because like there's been tons of times we talked about like if they ever break shit, and if they do, like how big of a deal is it? Like, is there tons of throwaways to,
apparently
like,
not.
Hey, we broke Buffalo's eye, whole glass thing. Like, is this his only outfit? Is there more? Is there less? Like,
it makes a lot more sense why that eye stayed broken for so long because clearly it's the only one he has. And yeah, it says it could just be a tap or a little stronger if it's obvious there's no power behind it. Never the face. They never hit the face. Helmets are not remotely durable and will break very easily.
Awesome.
So, sometimes you do want to get hit because it helps with timing and it gives you a cue to react to. Costumes will vary, but vision can be extremely limiting in the helmets. Then Charlie asked, is there a stand-in for the CGI elements similar to how if there's a fully CGI character in a movie, there will be an actor in a green screen morph suit as a stand-in? And Tom said, it's not as used much now, but there used to be a lot of spark hits, like when you would actually like punch someone, sparks would fly off. Tom said, which is obviously a good cue, but with all the wacky CG elements they do now, practical effects have dropped off a lot. Now a lot of it is vocal cues shouted by either the person doing the attack or someone off camera. So like they would yell something to let you know when to react to being hit, which is pretty cool. So yeah, interesting details there about how the fights take place and like
behind the scenes.
Yeah, I still can't believe they've like basically one of each suit. That's just crazy to me. Charlie says Tom was really cool about everything, and he said that he is always happy to learn there are Kamen Rider / Tokusatsu fans in the West. So thanks very much, Charlie. That is awesome stuff to hear about, and hopefully your paper goes well. That's an exciting topic.
True.
Yeah, cool stuff. I like Toby. I love that we have a listener base of like very cool people who are so knowledgeable about this stuff.
We got people on the inside, man.
We do. Yeah, we definitely do now. All right. So we'll transition over and we'll talk about episode 33 here.
What you're really here, what the people are here for.
Indeed.
The great analysis. Something.
Well, speaking of great analysis, Toby, you and I forgot a very key scene last episode that we completely missed. We missed the very tail end of episode 22 when we were discussing it, because you and I try really hard every week to turn off the video before we get to the preview for the next week, because we don't want to get spoiled on anything that comes up. We kind of want to go into all that stuff fresh. So when the kind of like rules of the Giamato Grand Prix or whatever pop up, we always turn those off. However, there was an extra little scene that came on after that last week. So the rule screen popped up for the Giamato Grand Prix, but then it transitioned into a screen that talked about the Desire Royale. And then we got a little scene with like a hooded figure who's on the kind of like platform where the goddess often hangs out. So you and I speculated a lot about like, is there going to be another game? What are they going to do? Like, what's going to happen? And that sort of answered all that for us.
So if that's the preview, I don't know, because I mean, we're obviously going to talk about the episode, so it doesn't matter. But like, if that happens in this episode, in that same conversation, I feel like that's still a spoiler.
It was presented as like the ending part of that previous episode.
I don't know about that.
Before the preview started, there was like a division between the two.
No, if it's after the freaking rules, I think that's out of bounds. I'm not gonna take the loss on this one.
Well, either way, that happens this time around. We open our episode and it is Buffa's world, Toby.
It's wonderful. It's a beautiful place.
Buffa has created a world wherein Ace no longer exists.
All he ever wanted.
Yeah, I think that's like his main goal. Ace is missing in this world. Keiwa is missing as well. The police are talking to Sarah, and basically they're like, "Hey, maybe he like is staying with his girlfriend." And Sarah's like, "No, that's not. That can't be it.
That's not how it rolls. That's not how we roll." I just think it's funny that like I know they slapstick it up, but like Sarah almost like tackles the cop and grabs him by the collar, and she's like, "This is serious. Like, where's my brother?" And all I can think of is like that doesn't work here. Like,
no,
in real life, I feel like if you grab the cop by the collar, even if he was trying to help you, like shit would go bad.
Yeah, that's called suicide by cop here.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how that works. Yeah, it certainly is a different environment when there's far less gun violence, I guess, in the country. You can stand to grab some people by the collar again. But Sarah's pretty torn up about losing her brother. Not sure where he's at. Which yeah, they live together. They're pretty tight knit. That makes sense.
Yeah, like maybe after the first day, okay, he's out palling around being stupid. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure she would notice at some point, like, hey, that weirdo's not in the house for a while. Like, where the fuck is he?
Where is this dummy? And then we get, we're kind of checking in on where everybody's at, and Neon is not missing. She still exists in the world. She's shopping. She's living her life.
We're going back to the old school.
Yep. Super old school Neon. She's flanked by her bodyguards. She has a date coming up, blind date with a potential suitor. And yeah, she's just her old school Neon self. Kyun kind of watches on. She obviously doesn't remember him, but he like is watching her and being like, well, you're probably happier now that you don't remember anything.
Ignorance is bliss.
Baroba is still in the mix as well. Of course, she, just likes to watch some human suffering. So she's talking to Buffa and telling him that the DGP is about to make their move. They're going to kind of come after him. He can't just have his perfect world forever. And she hands over his driver. He's like, here you go. You're going to get some fighting done. She of course like spends a little bit of time taunting him because she likes to watch him suffer, but he doesn't really seem too plussed by it.
Well, and one of the best lines she had was when he was ranting about all the nonsense and I'm doing the right thing and fuck the GGP and the wishes. She says like, you're no better than they are, just so you know. And he gets like extra mad and he's like, oh, whatever. But she had a good point. It's really the same thing, just different. He's just leading it now and not behind it. And
I think that if I remember correctly, I think the game master basically says the exact same thing to him towards the end. It's like, yeah, you're mad at the Grand Prix for creating selfish people who only want their wish to be granted, but like you have your wish granted for the exact same reason.
Yeah, like you won with your crazy Buffer rules the world wish here. Like this is only happening because you wanted to play the game too. Like you're not better than the game. You literally use the game.
It's in a lot of ways Buffa's thing is like it's the perfect supervillain sort of origin. Like you think you're better than like the system that you're taking down, but you're a part of it. Like you're perpetrating the things that you hate so much. Like they killed my family, so I'm killing everyone in the city. Like wait, what? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, she said, just so you realize what you're doing is no different from the riders you hate. And he kind of like dirty looks her over the shoulder and he just says like, so what?
Yeah. At this point, he's here for his revenge. And he's going to take it. And revenge he will get, Toby, because the Game Master is ready to summon a whole bunch of new Kamen Riders.
All the rejects, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. He doesn't even have the vision driver, so like he can't really run a game or anything like that. But we find out that he pretty much only cares about TV ratings. Like he wants to keep the TV show going, and he knows that people are going to tune in for the high drama of seeing if Buffa is going to kill these Kamen Riders. So he needs a whole bunch of new Kamen Riders to go attack Buffa, or go be fodder basically for Buffa.
And it's hilarious because like he basically has like a crock pot full of like what has to be like 1,000 buckles.
Yeah,
or, like the drivers are like the coin looking things. But he just brings out like this giant like cooking pot filled with them. And he's like, "Oh, time to get some more riders."
Yeah, it's crazy. And then like we see him like pull some more out of his pocket later too. Like that's where Geats' ID is hanging out, just in his pocket. It's just like you just got these things spilling out everywhere. But he, obviously proves himself to be very crass, doesn't care about the lives that are going to be at stake here. He kind of literally says like, yeah, who cares? Stop talking about casualties. Who cares? Like I don't care about these lives. They don't matter. Yeah. There's TV shows, the ratings. Sumi, of course, is not into it, kind of fights back a little bit, but the Game Master like grabs her face and basically tells her to do her job.
And it's just crazy because like we've gone a couple episodes without the Sumi hates all this and is fucking completely done with his shit. But like this whole episode is very much like Sumi's like final stand. It's just all constantly like, I'm truly done with your shit, dude. Like, I don't care what you say anymore. Like, don't fucking touch me. Get the fuck away from me. You're just insane at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So she takes these IDs and she heads out to kind of very reluctantly turn people into Kamen Riders. The first Kamen Riders that she encounters are Neon's bodyguards. So Neon is on her blind date, and her bodyguards are kind of outside the restaurant, and they're kind of, it's very cute. They're speaking English, first of all, which is awesome. I love that they let them like have a little like conversation in English. But they say like, Neon hasn't done a live stream for a while. Like, yeah, she hasn't tried to run away for a while either. I was like, yeah, it makes like things kind of boring though. I loved that. Sumi appears to them, and again, very reluctantly tells them that from this moment on, they're Kamen Riders. They touch the ID cores and they remember everything.
So my main takeaway from that scene, and we know we have our insider who's friends with Tom, but like that must have been like the greatest day of his life. Like he went from fan of the show to like guest role on the show to, hey dude, you get to be a Kamen Rider. Like he made like his full journey into his favorite thing ever.
It is insane. Yeah, we've talked about this before with them too, but like, it's a real shame in this episode, and I'm sure people are like super disappointed that they didn't get suits. They didn't actually get to see them, be in a suit. Like I get why, of course, obviously, since suits are expensive to make and all that,
and they explode easily, and
yeah, not gonna do it for a single scene. But yeah, like for him to, like you said, like grow up, love this, become an actor, get involved in it, and then like fully become a writer at this point, like get to do the big henshin, get to fight the main character, get taken out and stuff. Like that's so freaking cool. Like that dude has to be on just cloud nine.
Yeah, like I mean, like if nothing else, like like he's like there's no suit, but like they both have their own. Both bodyguards have their own distinct tensions, like everyone else does. So like
yeah, we got the full extent of it.
He got to do his own thing and like do his whole transformation thing. His was definitely a little more flourishy than the other guys, but hey, if it's your one shot to do it, you might as well make it cool.
And I love that they were unique and different. Like they both fit like the two guys and stuff. It was very cool. Yeah. And they had the buckles too. They had the fever buckle, and they had the beat buckle. Tom had the beat buckle, which was really cool. Yeah, that was super cool. Like it was a thing that like didn't even really need to happen. Like they could have just picked randoms, right? Like it didn't actually need to be the bodyguards really. So it was pretty neat that they got to do it. Yeah. But they unfortunately do get just completely destroyed here in this episode. Neon also gets presented with her buckle and her ID core back. However, before Neon can touch the ID core, go ahead.
Before you do that, however, I just thought of this. So I would assume Neon's bodyguards were picked by her dad. And since her dad knows about the DGP, and it seems like her bodyguards used to be riders, maybe that's why he picked them for her bodyguards.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah. Because it seems
I just came up with the deepest lore, and you're just like, yeah, okay.
I think that that was I think that lore was insinuated previously. Yeah, when the first time we found out that they had been riders before. Yeah,
wait,
because it's like,
oh, see, I don't remember that happening. Okay, never mind.
You don't remember that happening, really?
No.
Oh,
we can move on. Never mind then.
There's a point earlier where we find out that both of them used to be riders. In a similar fashion, we find out that they used to be riders, and they find like their ID cores or whatever. So we knew what their ID cores looked like prior to this, but this was like the full henshin sequence now. But yeah, they were former Kamen Riders, clearly like somehow tied with her dad or tied in with her dad because of the DGP angle.
Whatever. So Neon was given her buckle back, and
as she's kind of about to touch it, Buffa comes in, is fighting the bodyguards, and yells out to her like, don't touch that unless you want to die by my sword. Which like kind of hilarious that Buffa cares about Neon enough to stop her, because he wants to kill all Kamen Riders. She's a Kamen Rider. He could kill her. Like it seems like he'd be into it, but he tries to protect her a little bit.
So that's just going to show like he likes her as a person. It's just the concept of the Kamen Riders he hates. Where he's like, listen, either way you're the same person, but if you touch this again, I'm gonna have to stab you. Like,
gonna have to do it. I don't want to have to do it, but I'm gonna have to do it. So Neon runs away at this point. The bodyguards like basically buy her enough time so she can get away, and that's when they sort of are defeated. Buffa crushes their ID cores after they're defeated, so that's they sort of fade out of existence once he crushes their ID cores. So he truly has the power to defeat Kamen Riders at this point.
And I think that's probably one of the best symbolic ways to show that that was his wish power.
Yeah.
Of like, he's literally just says like his literal power is he's like pretty much OP the whole episode, and all he does is just like steals their cores and just crushes, like literally just like candy in his hand, just like smashes them up, and he's like, "Yep, you're gone now." And then they dissolve.
Yeah, it's cool, and we didn't even talk about. He's got a little bit of an outfit change for this episode.
Extra shiny.
Yeah, he's extra shiny. He's got these crazy horns now that stick straight up that they didn't before. He's wearing a cape where he wasn't wearing a cape before. So he looks this like crazy like King Buffa situation going on. And through a good chunk of the episode, he's just like glowing with power. He is just on a complete next level where no one can really touch him. Neon runs off. She hadn't touched the core yet, but she runs smack dab into Baroba. And basically, Baroba forces her to touch the ID core because Baroba just likes to watch people suffer. What a jerk. However, it turns out that's kind of Neon. That Neon was happy about it, really, because she sees Kyun next and basically kind of yells at him, like, why didn't you make me remember? Like, you should have made me remember. Kyun says he thought she might have been happier, but no, she just wants to kind of like live her life. And basically, Kyun invites her to the future. He tells her that he's one place he can think of where she'd fit in perfectly. And he says, in the future, where everybody's designed.
If you come to the future, we can have future babies.
Yep, that's clearly the angle that Kyun is shooting right now. And Buffa just continues on, just crushing ID cores left and right here. He's fighting a bunch of Kamen Riders that we've never seen before. And just completely wiping them out. And we find out that, according to the Game Master, basically he wiped out that entire new entire new slate of Kamen Riders that Sumi had invited. They're all wiped out now.
And one was even a former champ.
Yeah, right. We don't know which one or who. It probably was one from a season we hadn't seen before. But former champ stood no chance against the majesty that is world god Buffa. The Game Master says, okay, he's got one more chance, one more thing he can try. Cut to, he is begging Jean and Kekara for their help in retrieving the Vision Driver. He kind of convinces them both to. He convinces Jean to fight, and he convinces Kekara to sort of work in his own way. But as they do, Buffa just shows up right there in the little floating pedestal.
But Josh, they removed his access. How did he do that?
They removed his access. Well, he's got the Vision Driver, but he throws it back. He's like, here, you take this. Basically, in what is the most badass move that's ever happened, Toby, Buffa killed all the people that he could kill, all the Kamen Riders that he could kill, and the only ones that are left are the Game Master and Jean in this world. So he's here to kill them. Let's get it done. I thought that was so freaking cool. Like, yeah, I've come to you. You're a Kamen Rider. You're the last one. Let's do this.
Rather than waiting for you to plot and come to me, I'm going to do a smart evil villain thing and actually just come right to you on your little stupid floating island and just stab you both.
Exactly. So, of course, the fight starts on the floating island, kind of goes from there, goes down to the ground at some point, and essentially when the Game Master sort of realizes that he's done for, kind of begs for his life, basically says he'll grant any wish, anything Buffa wants. What kind of a world do you want? Do you want one where it's always Sunday? What are you thinking? Shout it out. And Buffa basically, again, it's like we were talking about before, says that the DGP itself just creates more selfish people who are just looking to create their ideal world, so the DGP shouldn't exist anymore. So Buffa is like, nope, not having any of this.
I'm like, it's again like Buffa's speech, I think, is solid. It's just misguided. Because like he has a good point, like, oh, all this dumb bullshit happens because of you guys are fucking around, and then Quirky Man just says like, well, you wanted the power. He's just like, oh, you reaped what you sowed, buddy.
Yeah, it kind of like, on one hand, I agree that like Buffa's no better than the rest of the Kamen Riders because like he just wanted a thing to happen and he got it. And that's what everyone else has just wanted this whole time. But also it's sort of the like there's no ethical consumption under capitalism argument too. Like if you want to take down a system, you sort of have to be party to it to some extent, right? Like you can't live completely outside the world, and you can't kill Kamen Riders completely outside of the confines of the DGP. so you maybe have to get your hands a little dirty in order to take them down from the inside. Who knows? Nonetheless, the fight continues. the game master basically is about to be killed, and Sumi is just like having a crisis at this point. She's watching all this happen. She's broken. She's holding the Geats ID core in her hand still, and she basically starts praying to Ace. She kind of holds it to her head, and she's like, Ace would know what to do. Like, how are we gonna get out of this? As she does this, like a figure appears. Ace, he appears between the game master and between Buffa, and the core ID is gone from Sumi's hands. And Ace says that he's a fox and consider him a spirit.
He's always up to some shit. And he did it again.
He did. So Sumi apparently like wished him back into existence. Buffa's like clearly ready to fight. Like, I don't know how you're here, but we're going to freaking go. But Ace says he's not here to fight Buffa, and he points his gun at the game master. Crazy.
It was so good. And like so like every once in a while the music hits the right way, but they fired up Trust Last for this dramatic final scene, and like it all just was firing all cylinders, felt fantastic.
Hell yeah. Then we get our little ending scene again. We see that red hooded figure. We don't really know who he is yet. But basically he says the Desire Royale begins. He says that the goddess of creation continues her cycle of destruction and rebirth. And then he says that Sumuri has finally awakened.
Dun, dun, dun.
So lots of speculation here. I think that the Sumuri awakening, her kind of like wishing Ace back to life thing, like my guess is that means that she is the like reincarnation of Ace's mother. At least that's what I'm thinking.
That would make the most sense. Or I could see either being that, or maybe she's like family to Ace. Like, yeah, I know they played family, and it was like it was a fake sister thing. Unless she's like maybe his real sister he never knew about, or her mom and Ace's mom were friends, and that's why they knew about the old game master lady and all that stuff. And there's lots of levels. Yours is probably closest to right, but there's lots of levels.
I think it's something in that vein, but it's super interesting. Excited to see where that goes, and I liked this is how we tie Ace back in. Like, we know he reincarnates, already. This was a cool way to tie in the reincarnation with an existing character and to bring him back into this world that didn't feel like a cheap cop out just to have your main character back in. So yeah, I thought that was really awesome. And then the whole like what this potentially builds towards as far as what the Desire Royale is like a full-on Geats Buffa team up to take down the whole DGP system. Like, that's awesome. Very excited about that as a concept. I think that the name Desire Royale does indicate that there's going to be some sort of like battle royale style like hunting of people. I know that's what Buffa kind of spent the episode doing, but I'm assuming
100 riders lands on an island.
Right? It sounds like that, right? Like Buffa and Ace just drop out of a bus and just go killing. But yeah, super cool. I loved that nice twist at the end that finally Ace is here to again, just like Buffa, dismantle the Desire Grand Prix.
Now they'll be best buds.
Indeed. So yeah, this episode had me like super hyped about sort of the, like you said, the kind of act 3 of the show and sort of the direction it's going to go. And I think at least I can see some of the writing on the wall of like where we're headed. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Any thoughts, Toby?
No, I think you have all the smart ones, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I think with that's going to wrap up our discussion of Kamen Rider Geats episode 33. As we mentioned kind of throughout the episode, if you want to...
Oh, wait, no. I had my thought that I remembered and I forgot. I want the whole fish, Josh. Listen. So now, let's go back to the intro, where Sumi pulls the gun on Geats. Will that still happen? Is that still part of the thing that's coming up, where maybe like he gets too powerful, and she's like, "You have to chill the fuck out, dude," and she has to shoot him down.
Or maybe she's like ordered to kill him because she's still a DGP employee and now he's like a terrorist.
She like no, so that's all good. No, that's all good then. So like, if they do actual like battle royale game style, even though they kind of did for most of the show, if they're doing it that way, at some point maybe she does have to fight with everybody else, and she has to. It's either him or her, and she's gonna have to pull the trigger or some other dumb shit.
Maybe, yeah. And then maybe now that she has powers, they like loop her into the battle because of that. Yeah. Could be. I'm excited to see if that pops up. Yeah. I hope it does.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, if you want to join our Discord community, as we've been talking about, or if you want to get some additional bonus content from us every single week, Toby, of the month, you can join our Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Kamen Riders, I believe is the right URL. It's also links in the bio or in the description of whatever you are listening to or watching this on. Only $3 a month to get the bonus content, or only $1 a month to get in the Discord. And yeah, we have a lot of good time in there talking about all kinds of stuff. You can also check out past episodes of the show, search for the Kamen Riders in your favorite podcast app, or go to KamenRiderSucks.com to find the playlist of the video version. And of course, send us in emails like Shade did and like Charlie did this week. Those emails should go to cast@KamenRiderSucks.com. You can follow us on the internet as well when we're not talking about Kamen Rider. Toby, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Life of Tobes, and you can find me on YouTube at Tobes Plays. Also, you cannot find me at any fine dining establishments ever again.
If you can find a whole fish, you can't find a Toby.
Exactly. It's only one or the other now. There can be only one.
You can find me on Twitter and Tumblr at PrettyDeeceJosh in both places. So again, that's going to do it for us for this week for Geats episode 33. We'll be back next time to talk about Kamen Rider Geats episode 34. Until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too honest when I take a few shots.